Emma Reynolds stood in her sunlit kitchen, carefully placing the last ceramic mug on the open shelf. After weeks of cardboard boxes and takeout dinners, her Willow Creek home was finally beginning to feel like her own. The charming two-story Craftsman, with its wraparound porch and mature oak trees, had cost more than she'd initially budgeted. But the moment she walked through the front door, she knew this was where she belonged. A knock at the door interrupted her moment of satisfaction. Through the stained glass, she could make out the silhouette of a man holding something in his hands. "Welcome to the neighborhood," Marcus Fletcher announced when she opened the door. His smile revealed perfectly aligned teeth, and his polo shirt bore the embroidered logo of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. "I brought you a little housewarming gift." The basket in his hands contained local honey, artisan coffee, and a folder of neighborhood information. As Emma thanked him, she noticed how his eyes moved past her, scanning the entryway of her home with unusual intensity. "I live in the blue Colonial 3 doors down," Marcus explained, pointing down the street. "I'm also the treasurer of our HOA, so if you have any questions about neighborhood guidelines, I'm your guy." Over the next few weeks, Marcus seemed to appear whenever Emma was outside, offering gardening advice when she planted flowers, commenting on her choice of patio furniture, even suggesting approved paint colors when she mentioned refreshing her front door. His helpfulness initially seemed neighborly, but his constant presence began to feel intrusive. "You have such a lovely corner lot," Marcus remarked one evening as Emma returned from work. "Best position in the whole development. The previous owners never truly appreciated its potential." Emma smiled politely, but something in his tone made her uneasy. "I feel lucky to have found it." "Indeed, property like this doesn't come along often." His eyes lingered on the house longer than seemed normal. "I don't suppose you'd be interested in knowing its market value?" "Just for insurance purposes, of course." "I had it appraised during the purchase," Emma replied, eager to end the conversation and get inside. The following Saturday, Emma noticed Marcus chatting with the mail carrier. When she retrieved her mail later, an envelope containing her mortgage statement appeared to have been opened and resealed. She dismissed it as postal damage until she found Marcus kneeling by her property line the next morning, measuring something with a tape measure. "Just checking the boundary for the association records," he explained, rolling up his measuring tape with practiced efficiency. The last survey was outdated. That evening, while Emma watered her newly planted hydrangeas, she overheard Marcus on his phone in his driveway, his voice carrying in the quiet neighborhood. "The new homeowner seems perfect for our plan," he said, unaware of Emma's presence behind her tall garden shrubs. "Single, busy career, minimal connections to the area. We move forward next week." Emma froze, water from the hose pooling at her feet. As Marcus continued his conversation, she quietly retreated into her house, heart pounding. Through her kitchen window, she watched him end his call and stare directly at her home, his friendly neighbor facade momentarily dropping to reveal something calculating and cold. In that moment, Emma realized her dream home might be at the center of someone else's darker ambitions. Emma's alarm hadn't yet rung when she was startled awake by the sound of something being attached to her front door. Peering through her bedroom curtains, she caught a glimpse of a figure in a dark jacket, walking briskly away from her porch. She waited until the person turned the corner before venturing downstairs. The official-looking notice was printed on heavy cardstock with the Willow Creek HOA letterhead. Emma blinked in disbelief as she read, "Violation notice. Unapproved exterior modification. Fine, $500. Due within 14 days. Attached was a photo of the vintage porch swing she'd installed the previous weekend. "This must be a mistake," Emma muttered, reaching for her phone. She had specifically checked the HOA guidelines before mounting the swing, even choosing a style that matched examples in the neighborhood handbook. The woman who answered the HOA office phone sounded apologetic. "I understand your frustration, Ms. Reynolds, but our new president has implemented stricter enforcement of the guidelines. You'll need to attend the appeals meeting on Thursday if you wish to contest this." "New president? What happened to Mrs. Donovan?" A pause. "She decided to step down last month for personal reasons. Mr. Fletcher was next in line as treasurer and has assumed the position." The revelation sent a chill through Emma. Suddenly, Marcus's intense interest in her property took on a more sinister dimension. Thursday's appeal meeting was held in the community center, a room filled with stern-faced board members seated behind a long table. Emma presented her evidence. Photographs of identical swings on other porches highlighted sections of the handbook approving the style, and her email correspondence with the previous board requesting installation guidance. Marcus sat at the center, his expression unreadable as Emma spoke. When she finished, he exchanged glances with the other members before clearing his throat. While we appreciate your thoroughness, Ms. Reynolds, the board has recently revised several guidelines. The updated handbook is currently at the printers. Your violation stands. Emma left the meeting feeling dazed. The fine represented a significant portion of her monthly budget after the expensive move and home purchase. As she walked to her car, an older man approached her. "Don't take it personally," he said quietly. "It's happening to several of us. Always after Marcus expresses interest in our properties." Over the following days, Emma began noticing strange occurrences. Her mail arrived with subtle signs of tampering. The security app on her phone alerted her to motion in her backyard at odd hours, though nothing appeared on camera by the time she checked. One morning, she discovered her garden lights unplugged and rearranged. Disturbed, Emma installed additional security cameras, positioning one discreetly toward her property line. The footage from the third night made her blood run cold. At 3:17 a.m., Marcus crept along her property line with measuring tools and what appeared to be documents, meticulously noting measurements in the darkness. Emma spent her lunch break the next day at the county records office. The clerk helped her access property ownership files, and what she found confirmed her growing suspicions. Marcus Fletcher was listed as the principal owner of Meridian Property Acquisitions, a company specializing in distressed property acquisition and redevelopment. Further searching revealed a pattern. In neighboring communities, Meridian had purchased 6 homes in the past 2 years, all after the owners had unexpectedly decided to sell following reports of ongoing disputes with their local homeowners associations. Emma stared at the documents, her hands trembling slightly. The friendly neighbor mask had concealed something far more calculated. She was being targeted, and the $500 fine was likely just the beginning of a systematic plan to pressure her out of her dream home. Emma jumped at the soft knock on her door late Sunday afternoon. Peering through the peephole, she saw Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman who lived in the craftsman house across the street. The normally composed woman appeared agitated, clutching a stack of papers with trembling hands. "I saw you at the appeals meeting," Mrs. Chen said quietly after Emma invited her in. "May I speak with you privately?" In Emma's kitchen, Mrs. Chen laid out a series of violation notices identical to the one Emma had received, except these dated back 3 months. The fines escalated dramatically. $500, then $750, culminating in a recent $1,200 penalty for unauthorized garden structures. A simple trellis that had stood in her yard for 15 years. "I am on fixed income," Mrs. Chen explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "Last week, Mr. Fletcher suggested I consider selling if maintaining the property was becoming too burdensome for me. He even brought a preliminary offer from an investment company." Emma's suspicions solidified. "Did he mention the name of the company?" Mrs. Chen nodded, retrieving a business card from her purse. "Meridian Property Acquisitions. That's his company," Emma confirmed. The 2 women spent the afternoon making phone calls, discreetly reaching out to other neighbors who had received violation notices. By evening, Emma's living room hosted 5 distressed homeowners, each with similar stories of escalating fines and pressure to sell. James Morales, a retired building inspector who lived at the end of the block, brought an interesting perspective. "I recognize Fletcher from my working days. He was involved in several development projects with questionable permitting practices. Always managed to skirt regulations without technically breaking laws. My daughter is a real estate attorney," added Diane Powell, a middle-aged teacher facing fines for her front yard landscaping. "She says what he's doing exists in a legal gray area, unethical but difficult to prove as fraud unless we can show a pattern and intent." The group shared their notices, creating a wall map of targeted properties using Emma's dining room wall. Rent pins indicated homes with violations, green pins for those left untouched. A pattern emerged. The targeted homes formed a perfect L shape through the neighborhood, all occupying prime lots with specific desirable features. "He's assembling a development footprint," James observed, tracing the pattern. "Classic land assembly strategy for a larger project." Emma moved to her laptop. "I did some digging into shell companies connected to Meridian. Look at this." She projected property records onto the wall, revealing a complex web of LLCs, all tracing back to a luxury condominium developer called Pinnacle Estates. Their website showcased an upcoming project named Willow Creek Heights, featuring upscale condominiums with exclusive amenities in an established neighborhood setting. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. "They're planning to replace our homes with luxury condos," Diane whispered. "They just need us to leave first." As the group processed this revelation, Emma noticed something that made her blood run cold. Does anyone else find it odd that our financial situations all make us vulnerable in different ways? Mrs. Chen is on a fixed income. James recently had medical bills. Diane is a single parent. The uncomfortable silence confirmed her suspicion. "Somehow, he's accessing our personal financial information," Emma said. "He knows exactly how much pressure each of us can withstand before selling becomes the only option." The group exchanged worried glances, the gravity of their situation sinking in. Their opponent wasn't just a greedy neighbor. He was a sophisticated predator with resources, planning, and inside information they couldn't account for. "We need to be careful," Emma cautioned as the meeting concluded. "From now on, we meet in my basement, away from windows and electronic devices. This isn't just about saving our homes anymore. This is about exposing a systematic scheme before it destroys our entire neighborhood." The basement of Emma's house had transformed over the past week. Corkboards lined the walls, covered with timelines, property records, and photographs. The group had been taking turns conducting surveillance, documenting every interaction between Marcus and other residents. Emma sat at a folding table, surrounded by her laptop and 3 external monitors. A makeshift command center. "I found something," Emma announced as the others arrived for their evening meeting. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, bringing up a spreadsheet. "I've been analyzing the pattern of HOA violations. Look at this chart." The display showed a graph with steadily increasing fine amounts mapped against dates. The increases aren't random. They follow a mathematical progression designed to reach maximum financial impact right before quarterly property tax deadlines. "That's when most homeowners are already financially stretched," Diane observed. James leaned closer to the screen. "This is too systematic to be coincidence. He's creating financial pressure points." Emma nodded. "And there's more. Remember how we wondered how Marcus was accessing our financial information? I think I've found the answer." She pulled up screenshots of the HOA website's backend code that her friend in cybersecurity had helped her access. The website has hidden tracking code that activates when homeowners log in to pay their HOA dues online. It's sophisticated spyware that can capture other browser activity. So if we checked our bank accounts or credit card statements in the same browsing session, Mrs. Chen began. "Exactly," Emma confirmed. "He'd have access to everything. Account balances, payment histories, credit scores." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Their financial privacy had been completely compromised. "There's more," Emma continued, bringing up an encrypted email account she'd managed to access with her colleague's help. "Marcus uses this account to communicate with Pinnacle Estates. Their correspondence confirms everything we suspected." She projected an email onto the wall. "Target acquisition proceeding as planned. Phase 1 properties showing financial strain. Expect first voluntary listing within 30 days. Another email contained a spreadsheet titled Acquisition Timeline, with Emma's address highlighted in red. Perfect corner lot for model unit. Owner financially overextended. Priority target. They'd been planning this for over a year, Emma explained, scrolling through dated correspondence. Marcus joined the HOA board specifically to execute this plan. The previous president didn't step down voluntarily. They pressured her out by threatening to expose an accounting error she'd made years ago. As Emma compiled the evidence into secure folders, James called everyone to the basement window. "We've got company." A black SUV with tinted windows had parked directly across from Emma's house. The driver made no attempt to hide his surveillance, occasionally raising a camera with a telephoto lens. "They know we're onto them," Diane whispered. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from her colleague in cybersecurity. "URGENT. Someone attempting to access your home security system remotely. Changed your passwords. Call me ASAP." The group exchanged worried glances. The stakes had just escalated dramatically. "They're trying to watch us, listen to us, and intimidate us," Emma said, drawing the basement blinds. "But they've made a critical mistake." She held up a small flash drive. "Everything we've discovered is backed up here and in encrypted cloud storage. If anything happens to any of us, This evidence goes directly to state investigators, the media, and every homeowner in Willow Creek. "So what's our next move?" James asked. Emma's expression hardened with determination. "We don't run from bullies. We've been playing defense long enough. It's time to set a trap that will expose Marcus and Pinnacle Estates for exactly what they are. A direct confrontation would be exactly what they expect," Emma explained, spreading blueprints across her dining room table. The group had relocated upstairs, leaving a radio playing in the basement to confuse any potential eavesdroppers. "Marcus has legal resources that could bury us in paperwork and delays while he continues his plan." Diane nodded in agreement. "So instead of going after him directly, we create an opportunity too tempting for him to resist," Emma finished. "One that will force him to reveal his hand." The plan took shape over cups of coffee as Emma outlined each element. James, with his distinguished appearance and background in real estate inspection, would pose as a representative for a foreign investment group, looking for precisely the kind of property portfolio Marcus was assembling. The Harcourt Group, James practiced, trying out his new identity, seeking prime residential properties for conversion to luxury accommodations. Mrs. Chen's granddaughter Lisa, an investigative journalist who had been quietly consulted, provided professionally forged business cards and a digital presence that would withstand basic scrutiny. "The website will only be active for 3 days, but it looks legitimate," Lisa explained. "I've added press releases announcing their interest in exclusive residential acquisitions." Emma meticulously selected the venue, the monthly business mixer at the Willow Creek Country Club, an event Marcus never missed. "We need witnesses who aren't connected to us," she emphasized. "People who will remember what they see and hear." For 2 days, they carefully planted information where Marcus would find it. Diane accidentally left printouts about foreign investment trends at the community center. James made phone calls from his front porch, loudly discussing potential property sales within earshot of Marcus' regular jogging route. The night of the mixer arrived with perfect clarity. Emma watched from her car across the street as James entered the country club wearing a tailored suit with a hidden recording device engineered by Lisa's technical producer. Through an earpiece, Emma could hear everything happening inside. James moved through the crowd with practiced ease, dropping mentions of substantial capital and immediate acquisitions within Marcus's vicinity. The bait was set, the trap ready. "He's approaching," Emma whispered into her communicator as Marcus made his way toward James, drink in hand. "Richard Harcourt speaks highly of you," Marcus opened, referencing a name James had deliberately included in his conversations. "I understand your firm is interested in residential acquisitions." "For the right properties," James replied carefully. "We have investors particularly interested in assembled parcels with development potential." Emma held her breath as the conversation unfolded. Marcus, eager to impress, began revealing details that only someone orchestrating the scheme would know. "I've actually been cultivating several opportunities," Marcus said, lowering his voice. "A collection of prime adjacent lots with vulnerable owners. Financial pressure has been applied systematically. I anticipate having 5 properties ready for discreet sale within 60 days. "Interesting," James responded. "And these owners are motivated to sell below market." Marcus smiled confidently. "Let's just say I've created circumstances where selling quickly becomes their only viable option. I have detailed financial profiles on each property owner." "That sounds thorough," James remarked. "How did you acquire such specific financial information?" The recording captured Marcus's chilling laugh. "When you control the homeowners association, you control everything that matters. Access to financial records, ability to impose costs at strategic moments, even influence over property insurance rates. It's amazing what people will share when they think they're just paying their monthly dues online." Emma's hands shook as she listened. His confession was explicit, detailed, and being captured perfectly. "We have him," she whispered to Diane, who sat beside her monitoring the recording quality. Every word. As Marcus continued elaborating on his scheme, Emma sent a text message to Lisa, who waited with state housing authority contacts she cultivated through her journalism. The message was simple. Evidence secured. Time for Phase 2. The quarterly HOA meeting was scheduled for 7:00 p.m. at the Willow Creek Community Center. By 6:30, the parking lot was unusually full. Homeowners who rarely attended meetings had received anonymous tips suggesting significant financial decisions would be made affecting their property values. Emma arrived early, taking a seat in the back where she could observe every entrance. James, Diane, and Mrs. Chen were strategically positioned throughout the room. Lisa waited in a van outside, coordinating with her contacts at the State Housing Authority. Marcus strode in precisely at 6:55, briefcase in hand, exuding confidence. He nodded to his board allies, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. The projector displayed his agenda, with special assessment proposal as the second item. "Thank you all for coming." Marcus began at exactly 7 o'clock, his voice smooth and practiced. "We have important matters to discuss tonight." After dispensing with routine business, Marcus moved to his proposal. Due to critical infrastructure needs, the board recommends a special assessment of $15,000 per household, payable within 60 days. A wave of shocked murmurs swept through the room. For many homeowners, such an amount was impossible on short notice, exactly as Marcus had planned. Property values will increase substantially once these improvements are completed, Marcus continued. But we understand this may create hardship for some residents. Fortunately, I know of several investors willing to make generous offers to anyone who finds this assessment challenging. Emma checked her watch, right on schedule. The community center doors swung open, and conversation stopped as State Attorney Jessica Hammond entered, flanked by housing authority officials and 2 police officers. "Marcus Fletcher," Jessica announced, her voice filling the silence. "I'm here to serve you with a warrant regarding an investigation into organized real estate fraud, financial coercion, illegal surveillance, and misappropriation of homeowners association funds." Marcus's face drained of color. He glanced toward the exits, finding each one blocked by an officer. "This investigation began 2 years ago in Oak Ridge Estates," Jessica continued, addressing the stunned audience. "Mr. Fletcher orchestrated an identical scheme there, and in 2 other neighborhoods, creating financial hardship through manipulated HOA regulations until homeowners were forced to sell at losses." Officers approached the podium as Jessica held up a tablet. "We have recorded evidence of your detailed confession from last night's business mixer, plus extensive documentation provided by several Willow Creek residents." Emma watched as Marcus was escorted from the building, his carefully constructed facade of respectability crumbling with each step. In the days that followed, forensic accountants discovered over $200,000 in misappropriated HOA funds. Marcus's hidden cameras were found in the community center, mailbox areas, and even the playground. The extent of his surveillance shocked even those who had helped bring him down. 6 months later, Emma stood on her front porch, watching new families move into homes that had nearly been lost to Marcus's scheme. The neighborhood had transformed through the ordeal. Bonds formed through crisis had created a truly connected community. Emma's phone rang with yet another interview request. Her experience had caught national attention, highlighting the vulnerability of homeowners associations to manipulation. She had become an unexpected authority on protecting community governance, consulting with neighborhoods across the state to establish accountability systems. The doorbell rang, and Emma smiled seeing Mrs. Chen, Diane, and James waiting with a gift basket. "For our neighborhood champion," Mrs. Chen said, presenting a plaque from the newly formed Willow Creek Homeowners Alliance. "Without your courage, we would have lost everything." Emma accepted the recognition with mixed emotions. The shadow of those difficult months remained, but so did the triumph of ordinary people standing against corruption. Her dining room table, once covered with evidence of a predatory scheme, now held blueprints for the neighborhood's first true community center, built on land that Marcus had intended for luxury condos. "The best security system is neighbors who care about each other," Emma told the local reporter who interviewed her that afternoon. What Marcus never understood is that houses aren't just properties, they're homes, and some things simply aren't for sale.